The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is Florida Man News, the worst headlines from the Sunshine State on the Florida Podcast Network. I'm your host, Joel Lounds. Coming up in this episode, Florida man accidentally bought 500,000 gallons of water. Florida woman challenges the no shoes, no shirt, no service sign. Florida man promoted a petition to rebrand a county from a Confederate commander to a karate king. And Florida man ogled a church lady. Plus, Florida man trivia and much, much more. Our lead story tonight: wretched reptile wrecks residents' restroom respite. It's something that we imagine wouldn't occur in a modern house, but it actually happened at a home in Hollywood, Florida, when a spiny-tailed iguana was found splashing around in the toilet bowl. It happened to a Florida man on Saturday, July 24th. The man first noticed the unwanted toilet intruder out of the corner of his eye when he went to the bathroom to brush his teeth, which is one of the more fortunate activities to partake in when noticing an iguana in your commode. It was so big, it was not submerged completely in the water, and it's got that tail that whips back and forth, the man said. Dressed in protective clothing and gloves, and with the encouragement from his family, he went to fish it out, but it kept swimming back down, eluding capture. 3 days later, he almost got it. 3 days. 3. Quote, I was able to grab him by his back legs and part of the tail. Unfortunately, I was left with a handful of tail. As he explained, the tail broke off in his hand. He rushed it outside as it was still moving. That's when he called in the experts, saying it's creepy, thinking of what could have happened had someone not noticed it in the middle of the night and sat down. Quote, your bare behind is over the toilet, and there's something in there. Something with teeth. Something that can bite you down there is really a shivering kind of thought. You're at a very vulnerable point, he said. A more experienced trapper from Iguana Lifestyles positioned a stick in the toilet, hoping the iguana would crawl out, and crawl out it did. Quote, I went, grabbed him, he turned around, got caught with everything, went in that toilet. Put my hand, was able to get him, and removed him immediately, unquote, said the trapper. Another quote, the spiny-tailed iguana does tend to be more aggressive. It's quicker to bite and shouldn't be handled, explained Ron McGill from Zoo Miami. In other words, it is the Florida man of iguanas. He warned, with their claws, teeth, and spiny tail, iguanas can carry disease. All iguanas carry a variety of bacteria. The things they're most famous for are salmonella and botulism, but there are other bacterial infections you can get, McGill explained. He did not recommend letting an iguana bite your face as an inexpensive alternative to Botox injections. So how did this particular reptile get into the toilet in the first place? It likely crawled in through the sewage vent on the roof. The homeowner found a way to fix that by fastening metal mesh to the vent stack. Florida Man News strongly suggests listeners verify that their own sewage vents are similarly guarded against inquisitive lizards. In faulty tower news, a Florida man got more than he bargained for earlier this year when he purchased a building from the city of Brooksville. It turns out he also became the owner of the municipality's water tower, a 500,000-gallon bonus. The unrequested reservoir is located next to the building the Florida man had purchased to open a personal training studio. The two structures were deeded on the same plot of land, and the city manager had instructed his staff to split the property before the sale, but did not verify that that had happened. Quote, if there was any error, it was on my part. I should have looked at it more closely because that's where we dropped the ball, said Brooksville city manager Mark Cutney. When pressed for more information, the manager gave a shrug, raised his chin up, and requested an extension as he was in a crunch for time. Luckily, the new owner didn't do squat with the tower. While the personal trainer officially owned the water tower for little over a week, he never had keys or access to the property. The Florida man did have to dip into his wallet, as a fee of $10 was all it took to sign the property back to the city and city manager Cutney said the city maintains an outstanding relationship with the businessman as he starts renovating the building for his new business. And in peeping pastor news, the youth director at a Florida Panhandle church is accused of hiding a camera in a church bathroom, officials said. The 37-year-old Florida man, who looks suspiciously like a younger, fatter version of my former co-host, but is definitely not said co-host, and who works at the Calvary Baptist Church in Pensacola, was arrested and charged with video voyeurism by an adult responsible for the welfare of children under age 16. The alleged pervert could face additional charges as investigators uncover more evidence, according to Escambia County Sheriff Chip Simmons. Quote, "I would say at this point that additional charges are likely," Simmons said. On Sunday, a 14-year-old boy noticed a camera under a sink in a bathroom in the youth hallway at the church, an arrest report said. He told a church leader who called the sheriff's office. Detectives reviewed the video on the camera and discovered that the boy was recorded in the bathroom, the report said. The report did not specify if all hallways in the church are segregated by age group. Another video showed the pastor retrieving the device from the sink of another bathroom, leading the obviously observant detectives to believe the camera could have been used in other locations as well. The fact that the camera was portable and easily carried to other locations heavily influenced this hypothesis. A search warrant was executed at the Florida man's home, where officials seized, quote, numerous pieces of electronics. Quote, "Our investigators are now going through those pieces of electronics to determine if there is anything on them to indicate that any other crimes have been committed," Simmons said. Church pastor Walt Magaha told the newspaper his congregation was saddened by the arrest. Quote, "We stand ready as a church to provide care and ministry to anyone or any victims who come forward as we are informed," he said. And now it's time for our weekly Florida Man trivia question. Here's this week's question. Of the 15 Major League Baseball teams that play in Florida's Spring Training Grapefruit League, 14 teams' home fields are located to the south of where they play during the regular season. Which team travels north? I'll have the answer after this message from our sponsor.
Flintstone Media has been the digital messaging bedrock of several brands and businesses, serving as a highly resourceful podcast production house and consultancy firm for over 6 years. Visit flintstonemedia.com for podcast samples. From show development and setup through recording and distribution, work with a leader in the industry and add a new podcast to your brand's content offerings. That's flintstonemedia.com.
And now, the answer to the Florida Man trivia question. Once again, that question was, of the 15 Major League Baseball teams that play in Florida's Spring Training Grapefruit League, 14 teams' home fields are located to the south of where they play during the regular season. Which team travels north? The answer is the Miami Marlins, who play their spring training games at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, which is about 80 miles north of Lone Depot Park in Miami. The spring training facility for our other Florida baseball team, the Tampa Bay Rays, is in Port Charlotte, which is about 80 miles south of Tropicana Field. Thanks again to Flintstone Media for sponsoring this week's trivia question. If you'd like to sponsor Florida Man Trivia, go to floridapodcastnetwork.com/contact and send us a message today. In F. Lee Daily News, Southwest Florida's Lee County, home to Fort Myers, Cape Coral, and this program, was named for Confederate General Robert E. Lee. A local Florida man, as well as most reasonable Americans, believe that is a contemptible eponym and has initiated a petition to change the county's namesake. He does not, however, wish to change the name of the county, merely who it is named for. The petition aims to change the honoree to actor and martial artist Bruce Lee. Quote, "His spiritual outlook on life, I think it's beautiful, it's fitting, and it's a place I would be proud to live," said the Florida man who launched the petition. Another Florida man agrees that the change is long overdue. Quote, "So when you come to Lee County, the first thing that you realize when you get here is that you are in Robert E. Lee County, an invisible Confederate stronghold," unquote, said the president of Lee County NAACP. Quote, "It represents white supremacy and all of the horrors that goes along with it," unquote. This is not the first attempt to change the name of Lee County. A previous failed attempt tried to call it Colusa County in honor of the original native people from the area. Any actual name change will require the state's legislature's approval. However, it is not known if keeping the name the same but changing who it is named for requires the same blessing. If not, Florida Man News has compiled a list of other famous Lees who are as deserving as Bruce Lee, if not more so. Creator of the World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee. Author of Hunting Manual to Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee. Director and civil rights activist Spike Lee. Peggy Lee, the singer-songwriter most famous for her work in the Disney movie Lady and the Tramp. Amy Lee, singer for rock band Evanescence. Professional skateboarder turned actor and star of My Name is Earl, Jason Lee. Christopher Lee, the British actor who played Dracula, Saruman in the Lord of the Rings series, and Count Dooku in the Star Wars prequels. Snake handler and Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee. Stan Lee, creator of Spider-Man and several other Marvel characters. And finally, the undisputed greatest musician of all time, Geddy Lee. The petition can be found on change.org and in the notes for this episode. In Jailhouse confessional news, during a video visitation with her jailed boyfriend, a Florida woman exposed her breasts and masturbated, according to police who arrested her for the alleged lewd display. According to court records, the Florida woman, aged 38, traveled Sunday afternoon to the Charlotte County Jail for an hour-long virtual visit with a 25-year-old male inmate. For those of you keeping track, that makes him 1 year younger than the minimum set forth in the half your age plus 7 rule. The Florida woman was in the lockup's video visitation building, while the Florida man was elsewhere in the facility. The visitation session occurred via internet feed, and there was no physical contact between the inmate and the visitor, police noted. They did not comment when asked if this is an example of how millennials and their cybersex are killing the condom industry. During their visit, the couple frequently talked in a lewd manner, speaking of sex, sexual organs, and sexual activities, according to a police report. She frequently flaunted and rubbed her breast, covered, showing the revealing outfit that she was wearing, calling her outfit naughty. There were no photographs provided in the police report to corroborate this claim, but investigations by Florida Man News into the suspect's Facebook account indicate that she does appear to own several outfits that match the description of naughty, as well as revealing, hot, and nasty. After she mentioned how she repositioned herself and almost had an orgasm, the man asked the woman to have one for her, and she began to rock back and forth in her chair, appearing to have an orgasm, investors allege. This, however, cannot be confirmed, as Florida Man News has not been granted access to the video, despite our multiple requests. Near the session's conclusion, the Florida woman exposed her breasts to the camera, resulting in the visitation to be canceled by staff at the visitation center. The unnamed staff member also had a reputation for reminding their grade school teachers to assign homework whenever they forgot to do so. At the time of the August 8th incident, the Florida man was about a third of the way through a 30-day sentence for possession of drug paraphernalia and driving without a valid license. He was arrested during an April traffic stop while behind the wheel of the woman's car. She was in the passenger seat. After police found a needle containing meth, he reportedly assured her, quote, "Don't worry, I told them all it belonged to me," unquote. Who says chivalry is dead? Upon arriving Wednesday at the Florida woman's Punta Gorda apartment, cops told her she was being arrested, quote, "for exposure of sexual organ in a public place," unquote. She then declared, quote, "I cannot believe that showing Cody my boobs would get me arrested," unquote. Apparently, she was unaware that she showed them to Cody, the visitation center staff, the IT department at the Charlotte County Jail, and by now, probably everyone on the dark web. In addition to the misdemeanor exposure rap, she is also facing a probation violation count related to her conviction last month for theft. In a plea deal, she was sentenced on July 21st to 3 years probation for swiping FedEx packages left outside a Port Charlotte residence. The Florida woman's rap sheet includes convictions for battery, criminal mischief, grand theft, public intoxication, drunk driving, resisting, and disorderly conduct. Since she had been convicted in multiple theft cases, she was charged with a felony for her recent porch pirate activity. In no shoes, no pants, no service news, a Florida woman was arrested on June 3rd after strolling through a convenience store sans pants. 21-year-old Kendall Mabry, winner of the 2001 Most Florida Name Ever award, was confronted by Lake County deputies as she strolled bottomless from the bathroom of a Umatilla Circle K store. Mabry responded that another deputy had told her, quote, "It was fine to do that." While interviewing the well-ventilated exhibitionist, the hyperosmiac deputy noticed an odor of alcohol from the young woman's breath and of marijuana from her car. Mabry did not indicate whether she was, quote, hotboxing, or if that contributed to her hotbox needing to be aired out. After asking the suspect to repants, the deputy arrested her for disorderly intoxication. There were no charges faced by Mabry's associates, Brandon Orlando, Davy St. Cloud, and Tammy Amy. For our final story, Florida Man News is a production of the Florida Podcast Network. You can find the show in your favorite podcast app or at floridapodcastnetwork.com. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter as @JoelFromFL. That's @JoelFromFL. You can find our Florida Podcast Network Facebook group to get info on Florida Man News and all our other shows. Just search for FPN Insiders. Our executive producer is Jemmy Legagneur. Florida Man News is provided for entertainment purposes only. Any similarity to actual persons living or dead or actual events is purely coincidental. No warranty or professional relationship is implied, and no refunds will be granted. Views expressed on this program are solely the opinions of the individuals who express them and do not imply an endorsement by our sponsors, spouses, families, employers, ourselves, or the Florida Board of Tourism. Thanks for listening to Florida Man News. Here's our final story for the week. A Florida man jumped on a scooter in pursuit of his stolen Lamborghini SUV for several blocks, moments after police say a teenager stole the car from his home. The victim said he will never forget what happened Tuesday night after his Lamborghini Urus, worth over $200,000, was taken from his Miami Beach home. Quote, "I'm in my home. I hear this thing start up. I look out the window and I see somebody driving it away. I got on the scooter, went after the guy," unquote, said the Florida man, not realizing that this sentence indicates he either overpaid for the Lambo or overestimated his scooter driving proficiency. Investigators said the alleged car thief was spotted on camera sprinting from where he had parked the Lamborghini on the sidewalk along Bay Drive near 71st Street. A witness said he was sitting on his porch when the suspect ran up and admitted to stealing the SUV, which looks like a cross between a Porsche 911 and a Subaru Outback. He said, "I stole a Lamborghini just now," the witness said. "I don't have a license. I can't drive. I didn't know if he had a weapon. I wasn't sure how crazy he was. I was trying to talk and calm him down. He asked me for advice. He's like, 'I'm 14. I don't know what to do.' You're better off turning yourself in. They're going to go much, much easier on you." This opinion has not been confirmed by Florida law experts. Don't take legal advice from a podcast. Moments after the witness spoke to the teenager, officers arrived to take him into custody. Quote, "An officer on the side of the fence had a gun pointing at both of us," unquote, the witness said. Cameras captured the black SUV with its daytime running lights still on, surrounded by police officers and crime scene tape. Miami-Dade police officers assisted Miami Beach officers with their investigation. When asked for comment on the case, Crime scene investigator Horatio Kane noted he would have been better off stealing. He then paused dramatically and put on his sunglasses, then continued, the scooter. Eventually, the car's owner got back into his Lamborghini and drove himself back home. Honestly, I can't believe it happened, the Florida man said. The victim added the suspect somehow got a hold of his car keys. He believes the alleged thief accessed his garage to grab the keys. Security experts recommend you store the keys to your expensive luxury vehicle, quote, not somewhere a 14-year-old idiot would think to look for them, unquote. That's the news from the shady side of the Sunshine State. We'll be back next week with another heaping pile of Florida man news.